live, so I'm hungry.
Okay, hi. Welcome back to the Better World podcast. We are covering episodes. We are covering chapters 41 to 51 of Kingdom of Ash. I am Carolyn Leonard, and I am the assistant producer on the Better World Film Project. And I am joined by
Amber. I play Elid. And
Hi, I'm Lore, and I play Lorcan. And we also have Bree here, who decided to join us.
so we have our lovers here today. And the theme that I have picked, I don't know if I like it, so if you guys hate it, we can pick another theme. But I decided that Revelations is kind of the theme of these chapters. And I can sort of explain that when we go through the discussions. I forgot to drink anything associated with these chapters, so I am just drinking air. And it represents the air that they all breathe. How about you guys?
Oh.
love that for you. I am bringing in a themed cocktail again. And this one is based on Irene Towers, or I guess a different name might be in order. But either way, it is the Golden Lady, and it's a twist on a gold rush. But as part of it, you pop in a little lemon drop.
Fancy.
Wow. Yeah, Amber's carrying the team right now because I just have a wooden mug and I've made some ginger tea. There's some honey in there, so I'm like piggybacking off of it with the
Yeah,
medicinal.
you're still on theme.
Oh
'Cause
my
my
god,
whole
you guys!
help.
What a
Help.
loving couple.
we were in sync. We didn't even talk about it.
And the mug feels very Lorcan, so I think
Yeah. I didn't think about that, but yeah.
And also all the furs on the back of the wall.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I wish I had a hatchet. I wish
I would have made
You have a
it.
dagger.
dagger's the closest I have. Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool.
And we've also been joined by my cat.
My cat is sleeping on the bed, so Neville. All right, we can I guess get into the chapters. The first chapter in this is 41. Sorry, I'm looking down at my notes. So in chapter 41, it's with Aelin and crew, and they are leaving the cave system. And they are getting on a ship. And Aelin and Rowan are finally talking in general. They haven't been doing much of that since she got rescued. And they're talking about how they are mates. And this, I guess, is the revelation of this chapter is like they both knew it already, but they haven't had the discussion yet. So that's a little awkward for them, but then it gets fine. And Aelin's talking about like the future that Maeve had shown her, which was like Maeve's idea of like this could have happened if your parents hadn't died. You guys would like still be mates together. And then they they do it for the first time since she's been rescued, and they finally they like reclaim each other by biting each other's necks and getting the scars back on Aelin that she had gotten lost during her torture. Open the floor for this chapter. Anything to add?
I mean, exciting. And also the revelations are so healing for her. Like, for both Rowan and her, just actually being like, oh my god, we were meant to be with each other this whole time. What a coinky dink. Yeah, that was a really good moment.
Yeah, like learning that Rowan was kind of like, shit, I wish she was my mate was nice to hear about, because I don't think he had said, like, we hadn't gotten that from his perspective yet.
Yeah. I think when I read this initially, like my soul was still hurting so much for her capture, and this felt like at least one of those good really first steps to getting kind of back to normal, which was real, or what normal is in wartime.
The new normal. We've been talking about it for
whatever
years.
the new normal is for both of them. But yeah, those I'm still still very much back to those old chapters, but as to start to move forward and start moving the ball forward and getting her back to, I don't want to say her responsibility because I want her to live her own life, but
That's the worst part about all of these fantasy stories. I just want them to live nice, peaceful lives.
Yeah, just can you just have a nice day? Can you? This was their nice day in the
Story.
cave. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is one of the last nice days for a while, I think. Um,
Mhm.
episode I keep saying episode instead of chapter, like, I'm so sorry, my brain is just turned off. Um, chapter 42 is Aelin and Lorcan, um, are talking, and she basically is like, "I don't like you. I don't trust you, but I also just don't want you running around because you're, like, powerful as fuck, and, like, I don't know what to do with you, so I'm going to have you take the blood oath if you would like, and then I can just tell you to basically, like, don't be a shithead, and that's it, and then you can do whatever, like, you don't have to be part of my court, just, like, I'm doing this as a safety precaution." Um, and he does decide to do it. He decides to do it essentially, not even reading between the lines. It's pretty much spelled out that he's doing it for a lead, because he wants to be able to keep her safe because she's just a human who is small, and she also like can't walk very well. So that happens. Um, we could talk a lot about that. I feel like, you two will have some things to say. But some other things that are in here is that there's some good Aelin Fenris banter, which is kind of nice to see them getting back into the more like jokey sides after they had, their whole torture situation. And then Aelin also specifies to a lead that like it's nothing against you that I'm not offering the blood oath, but I need your vote to be like a true vote in my favor since you're going to be the lady of Paranth. I never know how to say that. Um,
Yes.
and so that kind of clears it up for both Elite and then I guess the readers if they're like, why is she not giving the blood oath to women? Um,
Mhm.
that's one of the reasons.
Mhm.
So what did you guys think about especially Lore, like the Lorcan situation?
Morgan's such a simple guy.
But why
Like
you
at the
so
end,
OP though?
yeah, yeah, he's I'm strong. I protect, but really just a lead, and so it's just
Please, your cat is trying so hard to get a pet out of that. Like, can you please just give them a pet?
she's like, why are the hands
I
going?
was
Why
like,
aren't they?
where?
Yeah, yeah. Look, I find Lorcan so funny and interesting and uninteresting as a character because he just has the emotional wage of a teaspoon,
He's
and
just a
so
teddy bear.
yeah, I'm just here to things are happening. I guess I can fight because that is what I do. But also I'm just gonna fight wherever this marshmallow is
Mhm.
Which just
continuously.
so happens to always be in the thick of it
Yes, because she's also fighting in her also way that puts her in harm's way consistently. Yeah. Yeah.
by chance, dragged to morass, I don't know.
Well, yeah, why not? Why not?
She
But
just accidentally ended up in the situation, but then like decides to continue to keep going, which is a pretty cool thing that a lead does.
yes.
Is like she could have just been like, fuck this, and like stayed with all of the other lords or
Mhm.
whatever. And
Mhm.
she's going in
She
Mhm.
her
needed to
big
be the grounding character.
Yeah.
uh,
Like the I will say like I feel like throughout the entire series she is the reader buy-in, the relatable character, just like all these things. My life, not great. Not great. All these things, I kind of barely understand what's going on around me, but I'm just trying to keep it together. We're like, I'm here for you. I'm here with you. That is also me.
Elite is who I would be in a fantasy story, which is
Absolutely. Like we know that. Yeah.
trying your hardest, but you're like, I just don't. I
So
can't fight like you guys can.
yeah.
I mean, I would
Just
also
have
die and be like,
heart.
I can offer you my heart and my boobs. Like that's all. Like
Oh my god, the amount of times that the story actually talks about Elite's boobs is
Yeah.
insane.
huge
Yeah.
knockers from what I gather.
But I had a follow-up question for Lore around like
Mm.
how do you think Lorcan's character actually felt making another blood oath in general?
I I feel like I remember when I was first reading it that like his relationship with Maeve is so it's like Stockholm syndrome. Like there's a point that
Yeah.
you get to where even if someone is so awful and so terrible, and you can observe that they are still your person because who else do you have? And that's awful. And so I don't know if there was a lesser of evils being chosen and that brought him some comfort, or if he was able just to put the blinders on because it was one step towards his continuous goal, which is once again just to leave. Um, yeah, I wonder. Honestly, I do wonder how much. Well, Lorcan is not an unintelligent individual, and he's always. I do feel like he's always thinking, but I wonder how much emotional intelligence internally he has for himself. Even I don't know if
Yeah.
that man's checking in with himself.
I was gonna say I don't
Boy
think
has no insight.
Yeah, is that man journaling? Probably not. Is
that's what I was gonna say, like that I feel like there were some points where he almost is like because Maeve severs it, where like he's kind of missing it, and probably
Mhm,
both in like it feels weird because you've done this for like several hundred years to have this kind of weird bond with somebody, and then it's gone. So like, is he almost like, oh, good, like I'm not gonna have to be in control of myself anymore because
mhm,
he doesn't check in with himself emotionally. So like, would he
mhm.
kind of be like, thank God, like I
Oh yeah.
don't know what
I
my
think
life is.
that was a huge part of like even leaning into the blood oath as hard as he did with
Mhm,
Maeve was like
mhm.
I don't have to be responsible for myself. And like thank God because what the fuck is that? Um uh
Yeah.
so like yeah, I think that plays a huge role too.
Orkin is all of us. Like we all kind of wish someone else was just telling us what to do. Um, I mean,
I was like, I'm
it's
not gonna go back on it. Stand in your truth, Carolyn. I hear you.
so I also feel like that was kind of the revelation. The revelation, it was more like an action, but like Lorcan taking the blood oath is like a step forward in whatever's happening with Lorcan and Aelin, and then also that he's like willing to do that for Elide is a big that he's like that's I feel like his final like nail in the coffin is the wrong word because it seems more positive than that, but like he's like, yeah, this marshmallow is mine. So chapter 43, I said chapter. We moved to
Learning.
Dorian and Manon with the witches. They're starting to go forward on Dorian's idea to go into Morath. He basically scouts it. He's like, I'm going in, y'all. Manon pretends she doesn't care. And then she and the rest of the 13 go to talk to Petra. She
Mhm,
sort of like redeems her life debt and is like, you're not going to kill me if I talk to you. And this is the revelation basically is her having like a heart to heart, more like a heart at the rest of the witches and being like, we don't need to be like our foremothers. Astarion shows her brand and is like, see, we've all like you, some of you probably have this. We've all dealt with this shit. Like we can together build a better world and make some changes. Um, so there's the revelation for those witches that they talk to, and then I mean they kind of just leave it like they leave the witches. We don't really know what is going to come of that or what they're thinking
mhm.
of. Any thoughts?
On a superficial level, this is when I feel like I finally became a Dorian stan. When he decided when he actually was like, wait, he can do things? Wait a second, he's just not a funny side person. Yeah.
He's actually
Yeah.
pushing the story along.
He's
Who would
actually
have thought?
doing wow, crazy. He's not just like in the middle of it, things are just happening to him, and then he's a sad boy about I shouldn't say his father died. But yeah, that was wild. I feel like I had a lot of what we do not need to go into is my thoughts on organized religion. But I feel like I had a lot of struggles with the witches because of their
Oh,
blind
I see
faith.
what you're saying. I was like,
So
I was
yeah,
There was a
so
connection
I
there.
was skipping Fedora. Just the blind faith in the system that they're in, which is understandable, but it's frustrating being a reader, just seeing this, and them just trapped in the society that
you know
brought them
what's
up.
wild
And
is I think because I didn't grow up with organized religion, I never like equated that, but that's a really good parallel of like how the witches are run and lots of
yeah,
organized religions. That's very smart
yeah,
insight, Lore.
It's the cult mentality. I mean,
Yeah, I guess
we could
that's
go
what
a
I thought
step
too.
broader.
I thought of
yeah.
it more like a cult, I think, but I mean, like religion is kind of a cult. Um,
I mean, it's just any organized group that I mean, it's good to rely on your people and to feel like you can trust on your people, but you can't do it blindly. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and you can see that very easily when your leaders become corrupt, and let's not continue going down this road.
Yeah. There's a huge difference between community and
Yes,
organization.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
And that's
But
Manon's more like appealing to their sense of community and
mhm.
togetherness than
Yeah.
just like we have to do what do they call them? The crones? I don't do they
My
call them crones
grandma
or
is crazy. Yeah.
The
old
elders.
yeah, the elders. I'm just like they're all old crones. Um
Tease. Yeah.
so chapter 44, Aelin is having some issues. She's thinking about the creepy ass men in her life, mainly Kane and Arabin, who both torture her
Many.
in different ways. Um, I feel like there's just quick aside, there's a lot going on in these chapters that's all very important, but they're kind of she's just swinging at all of them, and I
Mhm.
feel like there wasn't a lot of time for me to like pause and assess. So that's just Sarah J. Maas get it together.
I
Um,
think because we're gonna get to in this series of chapters, and it's looking ahead a little bit because it's like it's interesting also though feeling the franticness. I'm sure there was a part in our world of her writing it where her brain was just jumping around. But there is also a frantic nature to trying to get all of these storylines to converge, which is where we're about
yeah,
to get.
and we're finally getting more to that.
Mhm.
And so Aylin's all like, I need to get my life back together. So she is doing that the only way she knows how, which is with her body and trying to get back into training. Um, Alid and Gavriel, I don't know how I want to say it, but he and Alid kind of have some unspoken bonding moments over some porridge, because it clearly tastes terrible. I was picturing the the hot item that Eowyn gives to Aragorn in the Two Towers, and then he spits it out. That's what I was imagining them eating. Um, and then there's an interesting part where Alid sort of is like can sense that Lorcan comes into the room, hates everything he's seeing, and then leaves. Um, and
A lot of feelings that he's not dealing with.
yeah, he's having a lot of unspoken feelings. The man doesn't
More of
know.
that lack of insight.
And then there's some Aelin and Fenris talking where um, they sort of talk about their experiences together. Aelin is asking a little bit about Maeve's blood oath and did her blood taste weird? Because she's remembering the potentially black blood that she saw Maeve have. Um, and then finally the end like sentence is that Rowan sees something in the sky and he's like, hey guys, like look at that. It kind of leaves it on a cliffhanger. So Lorcan and Alid, what do you guys think about that little moment? And I think it was an inn.
I
Mm.
I feel like it's just emphasizing how much emotional intelligence that Elite has. And she's just kind of like, oh my god, this motherfucker needs to get it together.
She's carried it for both of them, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the fact that like Gabrielle both this moment and then many more along the way of this journey, it's like I'm here. I get it. Like, you just need somebody that's gonna be able to just sit with you on this while he figures his shit out.
Yeah. Yeah, I like them having like you're seeing a little bit because the book didn't really cover their journey that much to find Aelin, so I liked seeing a little glimpse into like maybe this was kind of what their day to
Mhm.
day was. Like they all do have relationships with each other that we don't really think about as much, and I liked seeing
Mhm.
that like peek into Iliad traveling with all those scary males, as they call them.
Mhm.
um,
I
so
feel like I
because
see Gabrielle as Iroh, I'll be honest. And that's all I
you
have to
picture
say.
what?
Yeah.
Gabrielle as Iroh. Like not he doesn't look like that, but that is the vibe he's bringing to every function. And I do love
100%.
He's bringing like the uncle vibes, the like wise
yes.
uncle.
Absolute up. Absolute up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Now I'm picturing him looking like that.
Don't do that. We know that's not
Wait.
true.
Very chubby short guy. Um, so chapter I was at 25, 45. I like apologize to everyone who listens to this later on. Like, I'm sorry. Um, we're just moving everywhere. we are at Aniel, and everything's kind of going shitty there with that battle. Irene is working. Her friend, her like boss, Asteria.
Mhm.
I don't know what my
Friend-
notes say. She kind of spills that she knows that Irene is pregnant. And Irene's like, I haven't told Kale yet. Um, but joke's on her because his dad, who also kind of sucks, somehow figured that out before Kale did, which just like, Kale, get it together.
He is
And
fighting a war.
that's true. His dad, like, is
Just
like,
to
I
be
don't want
clear.
any of this, so I'm just gonna notice when people are pregnant.
Yeah.
And then like they sort of, we get a little check in with Nesrin and Sartak, and then they're all like, "Fuck, this sucks." And then another cliffhanger. Kale sees someone he didn't expect. So, yeah, I guess I forgot to bring in the theme for both of these chapters of revelations, but it's at the end. It's both of these little cliffhangers. There's things
Mhm.
happening. Stuff's
Mhm.
connecting. Maybe.
I feel like I'm gonna refrain from commenting on Kale because I have a lot of strong, non-positive feelings about this character. Um, and
We got
every day,
time, though.
every day that he wakes up is a revelation for him. So there you go.
I'm not as big of a Kale hater as some people are, but I still just I think he's like the lead for the men, but he's just not like, and then I feel bad for making that because like Elite is way better than he is, but he's kind of the average Joe, but he's just like not as with it. Like
Yeah.
he's always 4 steps behind, and Elite is usually like 3 ahead.
He's 4 steps. The problem is that he's 4 steps behind and then belligerent about it.
Yes. It's,
Like, I'm
it's
just gonna
like
drink
he
that.
knows that he's inferior, but he hasn't like worked through the fact of like I can be inferior without hating and making everybody else's lives around me
Yeah.
worse.
Yeah.
Yeah, we haven't gotten there yet. Quit.
It's a start.
Chapter 46, we switch
Love
again.
Irene. Love Irene though.
Yeah, love Irene. Girls working hard, keeping everyone together.
Oh, she's great.
Yeah.
Chapter 46, we move again. We're in Paranth, where Adian is fighting. He's just still being so annoying and bitter about fake Aelin, aka Lysandra. And they're doing like a little bit better over there, but not really on their side of the war. They're able to trick the army into walking over some bad ice and falling into the river, so that's solid. But the rest of it is not going very well. Lysandra is in her Lysandra form, in her like snow leopard form, fighting the Ilkim. And yes, shit's not going well. And so Lysandra, I'm getting a delivery. Lysandra is also bitter about Adian. She doesn't like that he called her useless, and she says that she has a plan. So there's another, I guess, revelation, or like, I feel like revelation is the wrong word, but it's fine. Is that she's thinking of something that will maybe help. We don't know what it is just yet. What?
Being bitter is one of my least favorite things so far in these. And just in case it's not obvious, this is my first read through of Kingdom and Bash. So I stop basically right up until the chapters of like what we're talking about.
That's beautiful. All right.
I'm like jealous that I'm not having this experience.
But like
We need
Adian's
real
bullshit
confirmation.
is so obnoxious. And I just wish he like, how do you not realize how important it is to have a figurehead in war? You are a general. You're literally a figurehead. Like, how do you not get it? I don't understand, and it makes me so angry.
Let me tell you that it doesn't get better. If anything, it gets worse when you're rereading it because you think, oh, I blew it out of proportion. Like the memes blow it out of proportion, and then you reread it and you're like, none of us blew anything out of proportion.
Oh, you're a problematic dude, huh? I feel like
Yeah,
I love Hannah's feelings about Adian because
I do.
I feel like I was screaming at this point in the book, like, my God, man, take your head out of your ass.
That's also he's like busy fighting and he's just like being bitter about his personal life, and I'm like, please
Can be focused
compartmentalized.
up. Yeah,
Yeah.
can be
Yeah.
focused.
Learn skills. Just any of them. Like,
She is actively turning to a snow leopard and destroying. At one point, was an entire sea dragon that she didn't know she could do. So what are you bringing to the table other than
Yeah.
bitching? I'm
Why are
so
you
sorry.
calling her useless? Like, of course she's gonna keep that in, and like it's going to fuel her having maybe not the best ideas, is because like why are you calling
you're
her
not
useless?
open to hear things. You're not open to like actually talking about the real issues at hand. All right.
No.
I'll calm down now. It's fine.
So we
I'm,
can
I'm
keep
really. I'm
going.
gonna. I'm just gonna say I'm very excited to recheck in with you a little later, Amber, because we are going to, I think in the, I don't remember which chapter it is, but we are getting to the set of chapters where Lysandra does say, like, probably my favorite line from her ever regarding this, and it's something to look forward to.
Good.
We stay with the same crew for chapter 47. And Adian is sort of just like, well, I might die. Um, and so then Lysandra initiates her plan, which is to rally the morale of everyone there by taking Aylin's form and trying to go fight as Aylin, where it also sort of says that she is essentially like willing to die to rally the troops. Because she knows that this is the only way to sort of turn the battle around, is to get them all like, oh, Aylin's here. Um, so that happens. She is not a human fighter as much as she is an animal fighter, so that doesn't go very well, and her leg gets gouged aggressively. And Adian does go to help because he realizes what's going on. So like thank God Adian like step up for once. And then the witch's tower arrives, and they sort of had been tipped off by Manon like what maybe was going to happen, but this is the first time that we see it. um and so Adian's telling everybody to retreat. um and then a bunch of people die because if you didn't read it, listeners, the a witch goes into the witch tower and does a yielding, and then there's all the, I almost said magic, all the mirrors in there sort of explode it out, and it basically becomes a bomb. So that is a good time. And we're just kind of left not knowing um how Lysand, like what's going on with that. She was just Aelin for a hot sec. Like what do people think? We don't know. A bunch of shit just blew up. That's fun. We can keep hating on Adian if you guys want.
I'm
Or
always. But
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, as part of this, I think Aelin was also fighting a bunch of like Vogue princes.
Yeah, she was fighting the Ilkin, I think, right? Which are like
Elkin.
The
Yeah,
the
wing guy.
wingy
Yep.
guys.
the
Mhm.
bigger boys. Okay.
Yeah.
The big
So
beefy
she,
one.
yeah, it's not like she was like, oh, I'll just fight like some regular ass soldiers. Like she went to the
To take.
worst
Yeah.
Yeah.
things.
And of
She's
course.
not useless.
Yeah. I find that I'm even having a visceral reaction, you even just mentioning witch towers. I feel like it's awful. So many things in in our
I know,
world that's
I
going
know.
on that is just very difficult to just.
Good luck, Amber. The rest of your read. Um, chapter 48, we go back to Aniel, and Hassar has showed up. And that's the person Kale saw, where they were like, oh, didn't know you were gonna be here. She's there. Brought more of the army with her, I think, basically. And is there like to lead the cognate. Is that how you say it? I hate
Yeah,
saying things out
it's
loud
the
that I only
cognate.
read in books.
Yeah, I only heard it, so
Yeah.
I know how they pronounce it.
um, and so they do reference, which could be foreshadowing, but we don't know in these chapters, that there's that big dam there. Like we could break it and flood the field, but that might be sort of a last case scenario because there's all the people involved. And as they're sort of talking about that, like boom, Aelin shows up, and Kale's like, "What the fuck?" Um, and Aelin's like, "Oh my god, you know how to walk now." And he's like, "Yeah." And then he's like, "Check out my wife Irene." And she's like, "I already knew it was Irene Towers." And then they share that moment.
How did
Um,
that happen? Ugh.
and
Yeah.
they reveal that like, and then she's like, "Check out, this is my husband now. It's Rowan." And they're like, "Woo!" And so this is in a moment of, oh my god, is everyone dying? Like, what's going on with Lysandra and Adian? And right
It's
here is kind of a nice, like them just being regular humans. And those are the revelations in this chapter, are actual ones that are kind of not really important to the plot, but like important to their personal lives, which is kind of nice to see. that little glimpse again.
I like the convergence because it brings it back down to like, oh yeah, this is so relatable. All of my friends that I have to plan like 4 months in advance to actually hang out with, and then we finally get to see each other, and we're just like, what's been happening in your life? And it's like
Yeah.
all of this crazy, like life shattering or big changes, and you're just kind of like, oh, all right, that's cool.
I would say it's not even when you finally meet up with the friends like you planned. It's like you run into your friends at the Ren Fair, and you're all like, "Oh my god, here!"
Whoa! You go here?
Yeah.
Crazy.
I feel like as a child, I was obsessed with crossover episodes, and because of the way the books were split up, it felt like they had such a stark divide. So when they did meet up again, it's just like it's happening, it's happening.
Crossover episode.
And that kind of continues into episode. Oh my god,
Sorry,
chapter.
Sorry, that was my
that's
fault.
what I did. All right, yeah, we
No,
did such
it
a
was
We set you up for that
Chapter-
one.
chapter 49. That's when they sort of go back in time briefly, and they're like, "Oh yeah, what Rowan saw was a rook." Is that how they say it in the audiobook? A rook, a rook.
the birds, a rook.
Yeah, I don't know how they say it. And so then
Oh,
they sort of had, huh?
Oh, that's spelled.
RUK.
Okay. For some reason, I imagine a Y in there.
Fantasy books just throw Y's in.
That's why.
So when they saw the rook when they were on the ship, they sort of were like, "All right, do we go to Terracin or do we do a pit stop at Aniel?" And they decided like we need to stop at Aniel to sort of help out with whatever's happening there. So then they're kind of talking about like, is the Cognate going to then come and help in Terracin? Is this the only thing they're going to do? Like, what's going on? And then Falcon shows up. So this is when we sort of learn a little bit more about the timelines. Like the Stygian spider would have just died when this happens because he turned young because her magic's gone. And so everyone's surprised by that because they've only seen him old. And then he and Aelin meet up, and she's like, "Wait, I know you?" And he's like, "Yeah, I used to be old and I sold you some spider silk." And then Nestrin's like, "Yeah, and this is Lysander's uncle." And he's like, "Wait, you guys know her?" And
What?
then fun
Just
thing
the
that's really-
Spider-Man meme.
then the fun revelations then turn into telling Aelin that, and all the people there, that the Stygian spiders are Valg and that they are governed by Maeve. And this is finally, I feel like finally it's happening. Like Aelin is being told 100% that what Maeve is, that she's Valg, and also everything that happened in Tower of Dawn finally matters.
Yeah.
From like the plot, overarching plot perspective.
Yeah.
But
I feel like I
what
like guessing the
news.
end of plots. And so like I think it was or like how it came out at the end of Empire Storms. I was just like, oh my god, mate, so it was there. But every like little point afterward, I was just like, get there, guys, get there.
Give it to me!
You guys have to figure it
You're
out.
like sneaking them. You're like, Aelin, yes, her blood was black. Like,
You know it.
Stop doubting yourself.
Yeah, so then that keeps going. In chapter 50, they sort of explain it. The last chapter was a kind of cliffhanger, obviously, as just like she's Vogue. And then they sort of explain how that happened. Aelin tells a brief bit about how she was captive, so everybody's kind of getting caught up. The cadre is like, what the fuck? We were blood oath to this bitch. And then Aelin has the moment that like we all had when we read Tower of Dawn. When she's like, holy shit, it's not like there's just like Maeve kind of sucks and we have to fight Erewhon. Like they're both Balg. Like, how are we gonna do this? How am I gonna do this? Because I take the whole world on my shoulders because I'm Aelin. I have just been pretending I'm fine. I hate everything. I'm so upset. And it is kind of nice to see this happen in front of Rowan, to me, because she used to just hold it in. So it's nice that she has someone to like talk it out with, who she can break her wall in front of. And then after that, she and Fenris also sort of break the wall a little bit of their experiences and things. And then Gavriel also talks a little bit about how he is worried about his son Adian. So this is just kind of like everyone being depressed chapter.
It always comes right after all the nice, pleasant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, wait,
Can't
everything's
last
so
forever.
sad.
Yeah.
One of the things that I think was slightly frustrating, and I really connected with Elid on this, is like the moment that everybody from Maeve's old cadre like found out and they were all like just shook and shocked. Like I was just kind of like, where do you think this bitch got her power? Like where
I didn't
like
think about it
how
at
do you
all.
guys not
At all.
pay attention to the fact that this was weird even for here?
Yeah, she
They
was like
all said,
OP.
we don't have to deal with it. We don't have to think. We're just hanging out buds together,
Like
doing
I
some
know
fighting.
they were way too close to the situation, but I was like, guys, like this is not as real as you're making.
No,
But it was like that's what they're also thinking about is they were like, wow, she really fucking tricked everybody. Like they're probably also thinking like, what did she convince me to do that I didn't want to do, like beyond the blood oath even. They're
Yeah.
like he of course she can make someone have a fake mate, like, but what else? Like, was my life real?
Yeah.
So that's
It
fun
was more
for
than
that.
that, but it was a lot. It was a big drop.
Yeah.
But I loved that Gabriel was being his Iroh self and he like came in and was like, guys, this doesn't actually change that much.
Yeah, he's like,
Like
there's still a fucking
Still
war.
here. Yeah,
Or my
right.
son might be dead.
yeah, and also the positive here is now we know how theoretically to defeat Maeve, which we didn't know beforehand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Aelin and Fenris are like, so like one of us is gonna kill her, right? Lord probably like
Deal.
and then we're to the final chapter where Lorcan is having his little revelations about Maeve's identity. He and Alid argue about it because of course they do. Um, and Alid is a little bit rude, but I understand saying things in the heat of the moment. She says she's jealous of Maeve because Maeve is rid of Lorcan and she has to deal with him. She, meaning Alid, has to deal with him still. And Lorcan does try to apologize. Um, Alid doesn't accept it, and she tells Lorcan that she doesn't care if he walks off the battlefield the next day, which is pretty harsh. And then Gavriel continues with his Uncle Iroh, I guess, and he finds a lead and is saying that she should forgive Lorcan, points out that Lorcan took the blood oath for her, and that he's not like this normally, so he's like, you should accept an apology from Lorcan because the man doesn't give those. And then we end the chapters with just some casual flirting and fucking from what's his name? Borte? I don't know what his name is. And Yiren. Borte, I wrote Borg because of autocorrect. Borte and Yiren. And then also Nesrin and Sartok. So we're just getting some Tower of Dawn fucking at the end of that chapter.
I love Mystery and Sartak.
So thoughts on the like Lorcan lead fight? What do you think your characters were feeling?
I love that SJM has set up Elid that even in you talking shit about Elid, you were like, but I must protect her.
That's so
Like,
true. Like,
let me provide this excuse. Like, she's allowed to be angry in the heat of the moment, right? Like, that's the way that she has been written. And I'm like, no, she's allowed to be a full person. She's allowed to experience that, like, anger and frustration and just being like, you know, you've done these things. I still can't forgive you yet. And also, like, how dare you call me out on my jealousy because fuck you. I don't think I know what that means yet because I've just been alone all of my life.
You're just like,
Sorry.
So I don't even know what relationships are, so how dare you?
I do enjoy that, like, even like there's so many characters in this series, but you're able to like, kind of understand them all. Like they're all very round characters, even though there's a million of them. And even though I didn't like the way this chapter ended with people just like flirting and going off to have sex, like that did nothing to move the plot. It's still always nice to see that like another side of these people and that they are humans in addition to being warriors or leaders or whatever they are. How do you think Lorcan was feeling after she said, I don't really care about you, bitch?
We need to really take some time with himself, go and journal. Well,
I want to see Lorcan's journal.
yeah. Ugh.
I'm
It's actually-
angry.
It's like
Yeah.
pictures of hatchets.
Just sketches of them, sketches other people's hatchets that he sees. Oh, Lorcan, how he feels when a lead says potentially go die. Oh, yeah. Uh, hmm.
You think
I'm
he's like
like,
a sad boy about it, or does he use it as
I'm
motivation?
that's what I'm thinking. I'm of two minds. Is like, is that going to deter him? Like I think he understands to a point the situation, and that this is how people react to situations like this normally. He's watched that happen to other people. He said, "Okay, interesting. That does not involve me, and I do not care." But it's now happening to him, and he's just like, "I don't, but I do actually, because now my marshmallow is angry at me. Oh no." Oh no. But then at the same time, I don't really think, I mean, he doesn't really know how to deal with it because he's never had to care about it before.
I like to pretend to think that part of it is just he got a rise out of her and he's like, I'm on the right fucking track.
Wait, wait, that's emotion. That's emotion.
I've done it.
Yeah.
Hit the nail on
Yeah.
the head.
Yeah.
The only way he knows how to interact is just through extreme emotion. It doesn't matter what it is. It's just
I mean, we
showing
could get into
emotion means
the
you
whole
feel.
like lore of his trauma.
Yeah. Yeah.
Intense emotions being the only thing he can actually read in a room.
Yeah.
He's a poor boy.
Poor
So
boy.
on this note, what do you guys think you would be able to take kind of from these chapters for your characters in the film? And obviously, Lore, you do know what happens in the rest of the series. Amber, you don't know. Um, which you're about to get to some great stuff, and I'm very excited for you. But yeah, what do you guys think on some of those? Like, what can you bring in, or do you think will maybe be affecting your character still, like 10 years down the road from these chapters?
So much.
Well, hopefully, I mean, we've talked a lot about his emotional intelligence and their lack thereof, and I wonder if this is a step in see. I mean, even if he's like, "Oh, I got a big reaction out of her. This is the way to do it." It this makes him take 80 steps to understand. I mean, understanding that side and actually trying to cultivate that IQ for himself over 10 years. I hope so, my guy. I hope so.
But 10 years for him is also probably like 2 in human years. So
That's true.
That's true.
That's true. So
But
it just
like,
kind of
we
he
can change
blinks
in 2
in.
years.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
I'm a therapist. I've just,
Yeah.
I've done a year of sessions with like 25 clients, and I'm like, all right, you guys are ready to terminate.
Yeah, and I mean, Elite definitely changes within 10 years. So he does have to also come to terms with that.
So do you think, Amber, that like Orkin just needs a therapist?
Step
Yeah.
1, therapist. Yes.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
Everybody needs therapy.
Yeah, I was gonna say, who in this
Definitely needs-
book does not need a therapist? Like, who in real life doesn't need a therapist? And we aren't dealing with magic. So
Yeah. All of them need therapy. Everybody. That's
yeah, I
just
think
like
they need,
if
group therapy.
I can get real big about this whole situation and say like if insurance would allow, you should be going to a therapist at least once a year just for a check-in.
It's true.
Like the
But
doctor.
In
yeah.
fact, the entire plot of the series very vaguely could have been solved with couples therapy. Just saying.
You are not wrong.
The entire plot. I just realized
all of it.
We don't need to go through.
We can go.
Portals.
We could go even bigger with this, like Maeve and her husband's relationship.
Maeve, they just needed couples therapy, and she never would have fucking world walked.
Exactly. No, I mean it would have helped, but either way, good purpose. Yeah, therapy step 1, but also like taking some. I want to answer the question too of what I think could be taken into Elite's character, and like one of the things when I got first presented this, which I had not read the books at all when I like auditioned and stuff like that, and my main thing of it being 10 years in the future was what a time to actually work through trauma. and just the isolation that she dealt with, and now facing like all of these different people in her face and like all of these different like just the court in general. And I'm like, she is going to want to constantly be in a room with others.
Yeah. Oh.
She's going to want to constantly have that community around her because she's never really felt it. Or it was the only thing getting her through her time, like both as like a slave for her uncle and like even in Morath, like the kitchen staff ended up wanting to help save her, you know? Like that's what actually held her together. And I
Yeah.
think that's going to become like more of this core value for her.
She's just a
100%.
sweet baby.
She is. She just wants to love and be loved. That's a quote from Holes.
Don't we all?
I
Don't
thought
we
I was
all?
thinking Moulin Rouge. She just wants to love and be loved in return.
The
That's
greatest
where I
thing
went.
you'll ever learn is just to love and
Yeah.
be. That's exactly what I'm thinking on
All
Carolyn.
of the above, really.
100%.
So our last thing that we really have to do before we're done is talk about the MVP. We jumped around a lot in these chapters, so I feel like it's hard to decide an MVP. My vote is for Lysandra because I feel like she made the biggest
Sacrifice.
I don't know what word I want because clearly I can't think of anything today, but like sacrifice, biggest move, like the other things were all like all these revelations that we were talking about. I feel like it's stuff a lot of times like the reader did already know. Like Maeve and all that stuff, like we kind of knew, but her making that decision is something that we couldn't necessarily have seen coming, and that it sort of made such a big change um from like the outside perspective because we knew that it was whatever, like it was fake and stuff, but like now people, I don't even know what I'm saying anymore, but like people are seeing that Aelin, they think Aelin's there, but then like moving forward are they going to be like, why didn't she use her magic, and notice something's off. Like it was sort of a really big kind of rash decision, but I still think it was a smart game time decision, maybe. I don't know, what do you guys think?
My initial reaction will always be Irene, but seeing as she was not in these chapters, really, except working a little bit.
He
Yeah,
was
this.
helping, you know.
Yes,
I
I
don't
mean,
know.
she's always working. Girl's
Yeah.
always working. But no, this period of time of Lysandra taking the helm and she's been giving an impossible task to continue the front in Aelin's absence, to continue trying to make those decisions, and now increasingly more so without a support system. Like,
Yeah.
or yeah, and it's crazy. It's crazy to be able to make that decision under duress without feeling like you have the backing and support of people around you, and then doing that in spite of that. I
Mm-hmm.
think it's really, really crazy and unfortunate.
I want to say overall I agree with Lysandra, but I want to throw a curveball. Gabriel.
Ooh.
Oh,
Oh, Gab.
that's true because he was iroing.
He was
I like
IROing this whole
too.
journey. He like has maintained the group. He even like threw in the light when we needed it. That it's not all just darkness. And like I think him and Lysandra both did that. But I just wanted to throw that curveball in.
I actually like that, and I think I will now revote, and I will go for that too because yeah, I feel like he was sort of more of a little constant, steady. He's reminding them of like what's at stake. Of
Yeah.
he does seem like he has an emotional intelligence. Uncle Iroh, Gabrielle, same person.
Can we vote
All
for
right,
2 MVPs?
yeah, man, look at that.
Yeah.
You changed my mind. What about you, Laura?
I stand Lysandra because she is fighting for actively her life, but Gabrielle is 100% up there.
Yeah. It's hard when there's like everybody's so split apart in these chapters and we aren't like concretely with one group or one person because we don't get to see like a full arc, I guess. Yeah. I don't know. All right,
All
well,
right.
any final thoughts on this section? Amber, any thoughts on like what do you think might happen? This is just so exciting that you haven't read it. What
There's so much left to happen, and I'm still like, technically, I stopped at chapter 54.
Whoa.
And I'm like, what are we doing? There's so much left. Everybody's so far away, and I'm like, how are you guys gonna save each other? So not very happy about that.
I'm just like, yeah.
Mhm.
How are they?
I think low key one of the worst parts too is that not all of the characters are actually in the better world. So my
Mhm.
brain just keeps being like, okay, so all of the ones that aren't there, are they dead? Does Dorian and Kale die? And nobody's telling me any of this.
You'll find out.
Not that I care. Like, they're fine. But
Kale.
you know what I'm saying. You know what I'm getting at. Like, I'm trying
Yeah.
to make
That's true. We accidentally gave you a little bit of insight.
Hmm.
But at least you haven't read. I would say we're releasing the script soon. When people hear this, we won't have released this. Like it'll be done. But maybe hold off on reading the script until you finish the book and then read the script. So maybe you're gonna want to go ahead of our readings for the podcast. But
Fair.
I would say there's some big stuff that will be kind of revealed in the script that you might want to have the emotional journey um
I'll just
without
sign
the
up for
spoiler.
all of the podcasts.
Yeah.
So that all
That
the
is
live
my
readings.
recommendation is just because I think the script's coming out in a few weeks, like just finish the book now because
Mhm.
I personally would like you to be tortured a little bit.
Oh, don't say that.
No, I mean this was
Well,
like me
much
and
of the processing time, I think, is the better way to say that.
yeah, like you're gonna get spoiled and then you're still gonna have to experience some stuff, but not having that spoiler I think will be a fun ride. It's not fun, but like I don't know how to say it, but like I just recommend reading the book before you read the script.
Okay. I can do that. But also, like, Carolyn, stop wanting people to get
I mean,
tortured.
Stella and I just thrived on Hannah crying on the train and texting us about it because we were like, we've been there.
We know your pain.
We want you to feel what we felt, you know?
Mhm.
It's
For
like
what
trauma bonding.
for what you're vaguely alluding to, when I was finishing this book, I was on the way to a work conference, and my coworker was like, "Just put it on in the car. Just do it. No context of anything else in the book." And so we get to some
What I'm
things that
talking about?
happen, and we're both bawling. They don't have any
It's so
context. They don't have any context for the entire so
I'm not
that's fine.
gonna be okay.
No,
You're
you're
not
not.
gonna be okay, and
You're gonna be okay.
we're gonna prepare you that you're not gonna be okay. So maybe
Mhm.
that's gonna help.
Yeah.
Or something.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't read. I read this in response to being cast for the first production,
Hmm.
and you can just imagine my confusion in the first book. Like, who is this Selena chick? I see
Yeah.
Aelin in the cast list. Who is?
Yeah.
Who
That
is
was
this
also me for like
person?
a minute. Yeah.
I mean,
What
I
are
had
we
seen enough on the internet that I just immediately was like, oh, Selena's Aelin.
I had no
Because I was like,
knowledge.
she's the main character. Like, obviously, this is the Lost Princess.
Yeah.
I had no knowledge, and so I'm going in like, when do these people? I see the names. I didn't read any of the blurbs. I'm like, these people's names are not in. Okay, Dorian. Okay, I know that.
Yeah, it takes you a while to get to the rest of those names.
Yeah, because I was just trying to find Lorcan, man, and now I'm in the entire book.
The fact that like
Read
Elid's
all of
character doesn't even show up until like
them.
the third or fourth book,
Yeah.
and the whole
Uh-huh.
first half of that, I was just like, where am I?
They're just
How
turning
do
like
I learn
every
about
page.
my
They're like, is he gonna
character
show
if
up?
you're
You
not
just
in
keep reading. You just gotta keep. This was a trap to keep reading forever.
Yeah, we trapped you. Anyway, I'm just so excited for you to keep reading. Like, I wish I could go back and read it all again and cry on my lunch break. Good times.
There's some
Good
great.
enough.
There's
I
also
should
some.
not
There's
read this on a day that I'm providing therapy. Got it. I don't want to be
Yeah.
emotionally drained when I have to
Yeah.
be emotionally
Yeah.
available.
Yeah.
I would suggest that. I would suggest that as self care for yourself and
Yeah.
your
Just on my off days.
yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Mm.
done with this episode. That was the correct usage of episode. And next time we will be discussing episodes. Oh my god, I hope when Sel edits this, they cut out
That'd
me
be
saying episode
52,
every time.
52 to something.
Yes. Chapters 52 to 61
Mm.
will be the next. So if you're reading along with us, read 52 to 61 before you listen to the next episode. I did that right. Oh my god.
You're
All right.
killing it.
Thanks, guys. I guess